Judiciary Committee wrapping hours of testimony there by the Attorney General, Merrick Garland. Feisty at times. Let's bring in North Carolina Republican Senator Thom Tillis. He was in that room and just questioned Garland. I want to get to one of those questions you had about those school board meetings and whether or not we are seeing an overreach, Senator, on behalf of the DOJ. Listen to this.
Did the DOJ do any real work outside of the public reporting to say that there's a disturbing trend that required the kind of what we consider to be overreach on behalf of the DOJ?
What we looked at was the letter from an organization that represents thousands of school board members and school boards, and public reports of threats of violence.
Senator, did you get answers to your questions?
No, I didn't. It was clearly only motivated by the letter from the School Board Association, and it was an overreach. And the point that I tried to make is the chilling effect this is going to have on other parents who should feel comfortable going to school board meetings and rejecting some of these policies like we've seen in Loudoun County and across the country. There's no question in my mind that people are going to think twice when they think they have the watchful eye of the FBI overlooking everything that they say. These school board meetings can get heated. I've been in a lot of them. I've been a PTA president, and I really do believe that they need to withdraw the memo and stand back.
You know, Senator Tillis, Senator Cruz followed along that same line of questioning, asking whether or not they did any research into the incidents that were cited in this letter from the National School Board Association. One of them saying in Virginia, an individual was arrested. There's a citation there that takes you to a news report where you find out that interview with Scott Smith, who was upset that the school board had lied to him about his daughter being raped in the restroom of the school. Cory Booker later came up and listed a bunch of incidents, all of which were handled by local police, not federal authorities. He then tried to link those to domestic terrorism, which the Attorney General himself pushed back against.
Oh, I agree. You know, the problem that we have with the testimony today is we didn't get any answers to any of our questions. And the bottom line is that this administration views the parents' influence over their children's education as being secondary to the will and the whims of school board members. And I think that that's wrong. And American people are waking up. You're seeing it in Virginia and the governor's race there. People are waking up to the fact that this administration is really casting a blind eye towards the parent over the needs of the school board members. It's wrong. And I think they're going to pay or have a consequence for it.
John mentioned Senator Ted Cruz, a very heated exchange with the Attorney General there. Here he was specifically on the instance in Loudoun County. Listen.
Do you understand why a parent would be upset when your daughter is raped at school, the school board covers it up, and then lies to you and claims there have been no assaults, we have no instances of assaults in our bathroom, and that was a flat-out lie, as the court concluded this week? Do you understand why the parent would be upset?
Absolutely, and any expressions of upset are completely protected by the First Amendment.
Except you just called him a domestic terrorist.
I never called him that. That's not correct.
This letter.
What did you take away from that exchange, Senator?
Well, first off, I don't know what has happened to Loudoun County. I used to live in Northern Virginia, but they've just completely dismissed the legitimate safety concerns. We had a young girl raped by a boy dressed as a female in the girls' restroom. You would have thought that they would have focused on the safety and security of that child and the broader population, but for some reason it didn't fit with their political agenda, so they cast it aside and they got caught.
You know, I guess the big question here for a lot of people who are in that room today is whether or not the Department of Justice has been politicized. Josh Hawley claims weaponized the FBI as well for political purposes. Let me just read from the top of the NSBA letter and then the top of the memo that was sent from the Attorney General to the FBI and U.S. attorneys across the nation. The NSBA asks for federal law enforcement and other assistance to deal with the growing number of threats of violence and acts of intimidation occurring across the nation. First line, first sentence of the memo from the Attorney General. In recent months, there has been a disturbing spike in harassment, intimidation, and threats of violence. The language is virtually identical here. So is the Department of Justice, in your estimation, acting politically?
Oh, I think they did in this case, and I think we could talk about a number of other examples. Keep in mind that this letter came in, I believe, on a Friday, or Thursday or Friday. The memo came out on a Monday. And even the Attorney General said that he was really relying on public reporting. He was basically relying on this letter. They got it out the door quickly. They didn't do their homework. And that's why I asked the department to report back to me if there really is a disturbing trend. If you take a look at the incidences that they noted, the vast majority of them, 2/3 or more of them, had no claims of any sort of physical contact or altercation. So they used a memo, they used a letter from the School Board Association to craft a memo with the Department of Justice within a matter of a couple of days. And I've got letters outstanding on immigration policies, a number of other very dangerous situations that are statistically proven correct that I can't even get answers to out of this administration. That seems political to me.
Speaking of which, you also asked the Attorney General about border issues. Here's a bit of it. Listen.
We've got almost 1.5 million asylum cases on the docket now, and it takes years to complete them. And about 80% of them are adjudicated as not having a valid claim. So doesn't that data lead you to suggest that the asylum system is being abused? I mean, just that's data from the DOJ.
The purpose of the of asylum adjudication is to adjudicate asylum.
Well, I understand that, but
allows them to make these. This is a statutory question.
I'm not an attorney.
Not the Justice Department.
I'm not an attorney. Mr. Garland, we have a problem at the border, and the DOJ has to engage and recognize that part of that problem you're going to have to fix.
Do you have any confidence after that exchange, Senator, that that will happen?
None whatsoever. There's no way that the Attorney General can't know that 300 to 400 so-called gotaways are crossing our border every night. These are not people that are looking for border agents to be processed. They are evading law enforcement because they're bad people. 200 or 300 a night. That is thousands a month that are coming into this country, and they're making our nation less safe. And they're making a lot of the minority neighborhoods and communities the least safe. These are gang members, drug traffickers, human traffickers, people with criminal records in the nations that they're coming from. Now just coming across the border and really without any real risk of being caught, because we're getting flooded with tens of thousands every day that are engaging the limited number of border security agents we have. They've got a pipeline of criminals coming across the border every single night. And this Attorney General didn't even really seem to have his finger on the pulse of the problem. And it's going to get worse. We're expecting 2 million more to come across the border before the end of the year.
Yeah, if I could, Senator, I just want to come back to the school board here before we leave you. And something that Cory Booker, the senator from New Jersey, said. He tried to bring up domestic terrorism, as I pointed out before, which was shot down by the Attorney General. He didn't think any of those incidents amounted to domestic terrorism. And then Senator Booker tried to link school shootings to this whole process, including the Parkland shooting. Now, unless I'm wrong, Nicholas Cruz, who perpetrated that shooting, was severely mentally ill, and that there was no connection to parents being upset about the school board. So even though the National School Board Association walks back its language, even though the Attorney General has said this is not domestic terrorism, your colleagues in the Senate are trying to make it so. What does that say to parents across the nation?
Well, I just think in that particular case that no honest person could have said those things and left them out there, and we saw that in the hearing today. They're just trying to demonize, I think, legitimate free speech. Look, if somebody breaks the law, if someone harms someone else or threatens someone else, they should be held accountable. Just like the hundreds of people who injured hundreds of law enforcement officers in Portland and Seattle and across the country last year. We haven't heard anything from the Department of Justice. They talk about the widespread investigation, which I'm okay with, on the January 6th event. But we're almost hearing nothing about the thousands of people that burned federal buildings and injured agents last year. That's another example of where I think we are seeing a political dimension to the Department of Justice, and it's disturbing.
Senator Thom Tillis, fresh out of that hearing room, we appreciate your time, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. Good to see you. Joining us now.